Hey, Jeff. You good?
Awesome. I thought I was like in some other cyberspace, lost in cyberspace somewhere.
Oh no, I was just in the practice session, so I just had that running.
Okay.
So now I set up the actual live session. So
oh, cool. Okay, good.
people be joining us.
Go.
And
I had to come back to the office because there's two little girls running around my house making cookies and putting babies to bed, all that stuff.
No worries, no worries. All right. Good evening, residents of Ajax. My name is Rizwan here, and I'm the Transportation the Automated Speed Enforcement Program. And I'm joined by Steve Ruddy, the Manager of Transportation and Development Engineering, and Jeff Romanowski, the Director of Planning and Development Services. And also the counselors are joining me as well. So in this presentation, I'll briefly go over the Automated Speed Enforcement Program, and then we'll open up to the residents for any questions they may have, either verbally or through the chatting feature. So I'll go over in this presentation a brief background of the ASE program, the site selection criteria that we use to select our ASE sites, our program schedule, the vehicle ticketing process, the financial impact it's had on our budget, the communications plan, and the conclusion and next steps of our program. So in September of 2020, the town of Ajax staff, we provided a proposal to council on the ASE program. So we gave a brief and preliminary background of the program, how and where it operates, the agreements required to operate the program, and the financial impact it would have. We did receive endorsement of this program, and it was included in our 2021 operating budget from council. And we received direction in June 2021 from council to have this program implemented this year. So for our site selection process, as defined in our regulations, the ASE program can only be deployed in community safety zones or in school safety zones where the posted road speed limit is less than 80 kilometers an hour. So in Ajax, we determined that there was 14 community safety zones that we can deploy our ASE program to. With those school safety zones, however, our community safety zone warrant does provide coverage in areas, in neighborhoods where there's schools, community centers, parks, and anywhere where there's a high pedestrian traffic. And this is where we targeted our enforcement program to be deployed at. So in each of our community safety zone, we've identified and proposed our camera locations and placements. We're currently working with our equipment provider and vendor to finalize the placements. We have confirmed that all necessary regulatory signage is up. That includes the speed limit signs, our community safety zone signage. We've also updated our speed limit bylaws to ensure that 40-kilometer limits in our community safety zones. And in our first 3 locations, we have put up the coming soon or the warning signs for the speed enforcement program. So here's a list of our 14 community safety zones. So we try to evenly balance them up between their 3 wards and in the north, central, and south jurisdictions of our town. And I'll go over the next slide of an example of one of our locations, just to give you an overview of how we set up the area for our automated speed enforcement. So in this slide, this is an aerial photo view of our McGill location in Ward 1. So in this automated speed enforcement community safety zone location, we have signage on both sides of the McGill and Carson Drive Street, on the Westney Road side, on the right side of the screen, and then on the Harwood Avenue, on the right side of the screen, Harwood Avenue, and the left side of Westney Road side. So when vehicles enter this community safety zone, they'll be shown a community safety zone signage that they're entering the community safety zone from both sides of the street. And they'll also have see signs within the road segment, reminding them that they are in a community safety zone, which is denoted by the yellow dots on the screen. And then we have speed signs on both sides of the road showing that they're in a 40-kilometer zone. And they're denoted here by our black dots. And then if you look and focus on the right side of the photograph, this is where we're going to be setting up our speed enforcement camera. So our speed enforcement camera is the small light blue dot that we have here. And there'll be our warning signs, which is the orange dots on both sides of the camera, so on the north and south side of the roads. We're first warning drivers that the camera is going to be coming soon. And then when the cameras are set up, those signs will be swapped out for actual in-use signs. And then we also have, in the vicinity of our speed enforcement cameras, a digital radar speed board, which lets vehicles know the speed that they're driving at, and also informs them to slow down if they are speeding. So here's a visual of our equipment and the signages that are set up at our community safety zones. So the radar message board on the left side of the screen, you may have already come across them or seen them driving around town. That it takes the reading of your vehicle speed, and it lets you know the vehicle speed, and it asks you to slow down if you're speeding. On the bottom part of the screen, that's the visual of the speeding camera, the automated speeding camera unit with the speed radar. That's part of the unit as well, which will be taking the photograph of the vehicle's license plate that are speeding. And then to the right side of the screen is our signages that we need to set up at our ASE site. So we have to set these up 90 days in advance before we deploy a camera unit. And we have set these signs up at our first 3 locations. And then when our mobile speed enforcement camera units are set up, then it will be swapping in with the municipal speed camera in use and notifying drivers that they can receive a ticket if they are speeding. So in our proposed program schedule, we're planning to cover all of our locations in the first year. So all of our 14 locations, and we've added an additional location on our Delaney Drive community safety zone, just through the stretch of the road. It's a very long stretch of road. So we want to provide complete coverage there. So we're planning on setting up a camera on 2 parts of the road there. So we're planning on doing a 2-month, 8-week rotation per set of our locations before we rotate to the second set. However, it may change. We may keep them longer or shorter at a set of locations, depending on if we're noticing if there's a lot of speeding occurring or there's a lot of troublesome locations that we're seeing a lot of aggravated or driving. We may keep it on. So here's a tentative schedule of our deployment. We split it up in 5 different sets, with the first set being our first priority set. And the driving factors of setting these priorities together was analyzing the roads for their volume, their vehicle volume, and also the speeding that occurred. And that was the main factor in splitting these by 3 locations per set per 5 sets. So we'll start from 1 set for 8 weeks, switch down to our second set for 8 weeks, and then so forth. So for the process for receiving a ticket, so if a vehicle drives past the speed enforcement camera and they're speeding, the speed enforcement unit will take a picture of the rear license plate. That image is saved in the mobile unit, and it's securely transferred to our joint processing center. So the vendor will process that information and send it to our processing center. There, our provincial offense officers will review the image and the speed, and to ensure that the actual infraction is valid, and then it validates a ticket to the registered owner of that vehicle, and it will be mailed out within 30 days of an infraction. So these physical copies will also be sent to us, to the town of Ajax for verification. And it'll be reconciled to our electronic copies to ensure that it's being correctly ticketed, the violator. And then these tickets are sent or filed with our Durham region courts. And then our final step is for anyone that chooses to contest the ticket. We have a program set up with the Durham region prosecutors that will handle any of these ticket offenses that are contested. So here's a brief overview of the financial impact the speed enforcement program has on the town of Ajax operating budget for this year, 2021. So the daily rate for the mobile speed cameras are for 3 mobile speed cameras that we did secure. The vehicle registration access fees, the joint processing center fees, the court processing fees are the fees to help administer the ticket and send the ticket out to the violator. And then the miscellaneous costs and the staff costs or administration costs with the program. So the total cost comes around $278,000. Also with a one-time fee added to that to set up our joint processing center for further $66,000, which brings the first year cost to $345,000 for running the program. So for our communications plan for the program, we have set up a web page for the program, which we've included the basic program details of the automated speed enforcement program, including the FAQ section we just posted up recently. Also, our contact information where anyone can email us for any questions they have about our program. And we're planning to post up soon ASE unit certificates. So basically, these are certificates that are letting the user know that the mobile unit, the speed enforcement cameras have been verified that they're working correctly and they're operating normally. And we'll also be uploading our speed limit bylaws to the website as well for anyone that wants to know or to ensure that the speed limit is 40 kilometers for our zones that we are deploying our speed enforcement program to. And we're currently, our social media campaign is under development. I know we just started providing some communications. I know our newsletter has been updated. We sent out a newsletter letting residents and the public know that our speed enforcement is coming soon. We'll also be providing regular updates on the program once our program does become operational in the new year. And for our conclusions and next steps is just finalizing all of our sites to ensure that they are ready for our speed enforcement camera setup. Provide any up-to-date information and new information to our communication schedule, channel, sorry, whether that be our website, our social media campaign. And our final task is confirming the go live date. So we're targeting right now early January 2022 target date. So hopefully if everything goes all well and smoothly, we'll be able to deploy those cameras at the time. And that's it. Thank you very much for all of you for joining our webinar and taking the time out of your day to learn about the ASE program. If you have any questions, you can always email us directly from our contact information on our website. And you have an opportunity right now to ask us questions either via our Q&A icon set up in the webinar, or vocally. If you just select raising your hand, you'll go one by one towards each participant and hear their questions or concerns and try our best to answer those questions. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Rizwan. I really appreciate that. And as Rizwan presented or just informed, we have, looks like we have 8 participants that are or have viewed the presentation this evening. We have 1 question so far, so we can definitely share that with the group. Rizwan, I didn't know if, did you want to leave on the screen the presentation, or can we take the presentation off, and if somebody needed or asked a particular question, we could pop it back up and
Sure.
move to it, just so we can see anybody else here. We also have a number of counselors joining us this evening. We have Regional Councillor Sterling Lee, Local Councillor Ashmead Khan, Regional Councillor Marilyn Crawford. The mayor's here, Mr. Sean Collier, and we also have Councillor Lisa Bauer with us this evening. So, Norm, it looks like we have 1 question there, Rizwan, from Norm Olak.
Yep, I'll just
unmute Norm and we can hear the question.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Just question on, I think this is a good initiative, for community safety zones. I guess the question in my mind is forgiveness factor on it. Like, as an example, the speed limit on the 401 is 100. But I think if you drove at 100, you'd get rear-ended pretty quick, because everybody knows the speed limit on the 401 really isn't 100. So I think the general population of drivers is kind of geared to that kind of system. And in a community where the speed limit is 40, I think if somebody's doing 55 or 60, yeah, they're speeding and the camera should get them. And then the program is doing what it should do. But if you set the cameras to 42 or 43 kilometers an hour, now it's a cash grab. So which is it?
I guess, Rizwan, maybe I'll take a crack at it. You can fill in any of the gaps. Sure. Thanks for the question, Norm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. The penalties for speeding should be set within a certain threshold. I don't think these cameras or the system is to be set at a threshold that would be at a level like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 kilometers over the speed limit. I think it's an industry standard, Rizwan, if I'm not mistaken, the threshold setting for this type of program or any type of speed enforcement program. I don't know if we can, I think that's kind of the industry standard. We don't know what that standard is. It's the speed limit set. It might be around the 10 kilometer over the speed limit speed, if I was to guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Rizwan, is there anything to add to that for Mr. Olak this evening?
No, that's exactly it. The threshold is not something that we disclose to the public. It's not something that we want to share or promote to the public of our speed threshold, as we don't want to promote them to kind of, I guess, game what speed that they can drive at to avoid a ticket. So we're just encouraging the public just to drive and maintain their speed.
I guess I'm just asking council. Yeah. I'm asking council and the management like yourselves to use wisdom that like I say, if somebody's doing 55 or 60 in a 40 zone, I think most people would support that, yeah, that's speeding and they should get a ticket. And if the threshold is managed too tight, then you get a backlash on the program, which would be unfortunate because everybody wants the communities to be safe. I mean, just witness what happened when they had speed cameras on the 401, got Mike Harris elected to get rid of them.
Right. That was the automated speed on the highways.
Yeah, they were collecting
the vans on the side of the highways that would capture speeders, correct?
Yeah, they were getting everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's I guess just tabling, that's my concern, that if our community or others, go that route, then I think you'd probably be in for a backlash and the program may not last too long. But if you have community support because it's managed appropriately, then it's a good program.
Yeah, and the threshold is going to be consistently set across all areas where the cameras are deployed. So it's not going to be a varying scale. It's going to be a consistently administered program over all the community safety zones where ASE is deployed.
Yeah, and hopefully that Ajax would be in sync with Durham region and other Durham municipalities, so that you don't need a card with you when you're driving to.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Looks like Rizwan, you're going to respond to that. You're typing in the first question. We had a question just for the group. I don't know if everybody can see it, so maybe I'll share. How accurate are the digital displays? Meters. I find the street display is 2 kilometers higher than the measured speed on my car. Also, how accurate are the cameras going to be? They're calibrated through, I think, through the Ministry of Transportation, Rizwan, if I'm not mistaken. Or there's a number of checks and protocols that these cameras go through and ensure that they're calibrated to capture the speeds accurately, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And the ASE certificates of accuracy that I was briefly mentioning in my presentation is the accuracy showing and letting the public know that it's been verified by the inspector, that verifies that the components of the machine are behaving and performing correctly. And providing that certificate of accuracy, just providing the proof that it's been checked and vetted, and that it should be providing the accurate speed radar when it is ticketing vehicles.
Great. Just a comment here. Would prefer a lower speed limit, like 30 with thresholds of 5, bringing it to 35. I think our lowest speed limits within the town are the 40 kilometer speed limit, if I'm not mistaken. I know there's maximums, or we wouldn't put like an ASE program in like a 90 zone, but I think it's measured from the 80 kilometer an hour lower. Rizwan, is there a minimum threshold or a minimum speed where ASE, like say 30 or lower, where ASE wouldn't be deployed? Or is it anything below an 80 kilometer an hour zone and subject to being a community safety zone is where the ASE could be deployed?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So below 80 kilometers and in a community safety zone, which are the community safety zones are currently at 40 kilometers an hour. So they would only be deployed in those zones where the minimum would be 40. If it does go lower in the future to 30 kilometers, then it will be calibrated too.
It'd be
To
calibrated.
compensate for that.
Bylaws would have to be passed.
Exactly.
We'd have to change the signage and the speed limits, etc.
Yep. Correct.
And that would go through council. Council passes those bylaws. Right.
Yep.
We have a question from Sharon Soares. A camera is to be placed on McGill Drive near McLean Community Center. It's only a few 100 meters away from the main intersection of McGill and Westney. What's the reason for the placement of this spot? Well, I believe that was the example that Rizwan had on the screen, if I'm not mistaken. Was that right? That was McGill between Westney and Harwood?
Oh,
Or was that
yep, that was the location.
right? Sharon, just I think the camera is pointing in the direction facing east. So this would capture people coming through that Westney McGill intersection, making a right, or coming straight through and heading towards Harwood Avenue. And it would take a picture of the back of the vehicle moving away from the speed camera. Is that's a fair, I guess, description of how that would work there, correct, Rizwan?
Yep, that's correct. That's exactly how it would work.
And can you maybe elaborate for Sharon just the rationale for that particular placement of a camera in that situation?
Sure, yeah. The reason why we targeted that area is that it was close by the entrances of the community center. And there was also, when we did our analysis there, our traffic volume and our speeding analysis there, that area there was a lot of speeding occurring. So this is why we targeted our camera to be set up there. And our digital speed board right on the opposite side to be set up as well to get all our westbound traffic to make them or follow their speeds or to watch their speeds.
And that's a good point, actually. Those that are on the meeting this evening, the digital speed boards that are out there now in all of the community safety zones where the ASE programs will be deployed over the course of the next year, those are always tracking and collecting data speeds, and they're collecting and tracking data and speeds from both directions. So, and we use that information in order to understand the speeds that are occurring within those corridors. We also use that information going forward for the deployment of this program as well. That'll help keep us informed as to what the conditions are out in those out on those roads, streets, and corridors throughout the town. If that helps the group. I didn't know if Norm had another question. I saw his hand pop up, but it might have already been there. Oh, now it's down.
Okay.
We don't have any more questions in the box. I didn't know if there's any questions from the 8 attendees that we have there this evening, or if there's any questions of the members of council that are on the meeting with us this evening.
Hi, Jeff, it's Lisa. Hi, Rizwan. Thank you so much for the presentation. Could you please show us the rotation schedule again?
Sure.
Sure. Yep, I'll share my screen.
Thank you. So, and I'm sorry if I missed this part or have forgotten already, but the schedule is listed. These are all based on data that shows these are like, what's the order? What's the rationale for this order?
Oh, so it was a combination of, yes, it was partially our traffic data. So our vehicle volume that we saw on the streets, also the speeding that we also witnessed on the streets. Also trying to provide coverage amongst the 3 wards, trying to get balanced coverage amongst the three wards.
Okay.
And this is how we selected the 3 locations per sex.
And so this will be the first year program. And then what will happen in year 2 and on? Like, will these streets will remain in the rotation?
So as of right now, yeah, we would start from the beginning of the list and follow through from the beginning of the rotation. But I suspect as we operate the program and as we go through next year running the program, we'll most likely make changes. We'll probably notice some locations may require longer time for the speed enforcement to be set up, or for the speed enforcement to come to a location sooner rather than later. And then some locations may not require that much coverage of the speed enforcement camera. So all these scheduled, like in the setup, these priority sets can be changed and will most likely be changed to try to make the program as effective as possible.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Counselor.
Hey guys, it's Ash. Can I ask a question, please?
Please do, Councillor Khan.
Okay, thanks. So I know we had some discussions about if we were gonna do the switches by ward, if we're gonna share it by ward, the 3 cameras, 1 per ward. Did we move on with that, or did we just go ahead with what was more in priority sequence rather than per ward? Like each rotation, we would have 1 camera per ward in each of the 3 wards. Did we stick to that, or did we just use it as per priority sequence as per which streets needed more calming?
It was a combination of what streets need more calming and the wards. I'll have to double check, but I believe that we tried to make it balanced. So each of the 3 wards were represented in each of our priority sets.
Okay, I see Ward 2 was in each one of the rotations, but I'm not sure of all the other streets in the other wards, so I was just checking. Okay, great job, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Councillor Khan, and I see a couple of questions popping up here. I mean, once we go through the first year, and Rizwan did mention this in his presentation, and we've mentioned this several times as we presented to council or have shared information. I mean, through the first rotation, the first year, all sites are going to get hit. But there might be some unique information that comes out of that where we might keep a camera at a location maybe for double the amount of time, or we might bump up a few of the streets that maybe happened later on in the first rotation, move them up earlier in the rotation. So a lot will rely on the data that we grab from the machines and from our automated speed boards that are out there. And that'll help us kind of develop and, develop and deploy the program over the course of time that the program's within the town.
I think that's fair. Start off with each ward being represented, and then we use them as per requirement wherever the speeding is more and where you really need it. I think it's fair. That's great. Again, great job, guys. Thank you so much.
Rizwan, we got a question here from S. James about the charges and how they're calculated. Are you able to provide some commentary on that?
For the charges. So these are based on the pricing chart that's set up from the Highway Traffic Act and the Provincial Offences Act.
So it's legislated fines.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And there's an amount based on kilometer overage. You go speeding above the speed limit. That will be factored in. Then there's a victim surcharge factored in, court costs factored in, but it's all public information on how that's determined.
Great. And we have a few points supporting Norm and in the points that he made about having 2 or 3 kilometers over the speed limit, and that's by no means the intent of this program whatsoever. But the thresholds are established across all ASE programs at a certain threshold. So obviously it's not the intention to get the people that are going a couple kilometers over the speed limit. It's to deal with people that are speeding within these areas. And you'll notice most of these areas that Rizwan and the group in transportation have put together, they're community safety zones, they're closer to schools, churches, other types of community types of facilities where we see or there will be a lot of pedestrian traffic or other traffic, bikes, kids, etc. within the corridor. And that's part of the combination of how this program's set up, and it's part of the Vision Zero mandate that the region is on, as well as the town is a part of. Again, the McGill camera, that location, you have cars coming from McLean Center, Food Basics, and Delaney Westney. Just after making the turn, you have to pick up some speed. The camera is right there. Does not make much sense. Too close to the intersection. I think that's where a camera should be set up. And I think that's why we've sited the camera where we did within the field. We had a lot of intersections coming in and out of the marketplace and the McLean's Community Center. There's a school just at the next street, Coles. That intersection right now, I believe, is under the region's red light camera program. I think it's one of the highest ticketed red light camera intersections, I think, in the region, if I'm not mistaken, from a previous presentation that we had by the region of Durham. Picking up speed from the driveway of either the plaza or the community center. I don't know if that'll be that much of an issue unless you're speeding to go through the light. And if you're doing that, you're probably going to get caught by the red light camera. So I also think, Rizwan, maybe you can explain that as we go through the program and as we're looking at the different sites, there's always going to be recalibrations, resightings, other things that happen in the field that might move or relocate the cameras as we kind of go through different cycles of the program too. Is that fair to say?
Yep, that's exactly it. We're working with our vendor that set up these programs that are going to be setting up these cameras on choosing different locations, readjusting our locations based on how we see traffic behave once we go live and if it is operational. So these are definitely not set in stone, these placements, as we rotate through our schedules, and we will be always adjusting and changing as we see traffic patterns change.
Awesome. Another question here. Will my car insurance go up if camera is used to measure my speed?
Speed infractions can affect insurance premiums, but they'll have to confirm with their insurance provider on how it affects them. The final answer on that.
Thanks, Rizwan. Question here from Sharon again. Why is the threshold not public knowledge? Can you kind of elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, the main reason why it's not public knowledge is we just don't want the public to, I guess, kind of game and target a certain speed limit to avoid getting a ticket. But just looking at the speed limit, it is the actual law that needs to be followed. So we don't want to promote any type of speeding at all. So this is the main reason of why the thresholds aren't disclosed publicly.
Just maybe the question about the insurance again, Rizwan. Is there a difference between your insurance going up as a result of any speeding infractions in relation to like points, demerit points? I believe the ASE program wouldn't be a demerit point issuance type of device. It's basically a speeding ticket. You pay the fine. I guess it could be disputed if it wanted to be disputed. But the insurance and is insurance and the point system two separate things?
Yep. That's correct. There's going to be no demerit points issued because demerit points are linked to the driver's license. And this is just linked towards the license plate of the vehicle. So the registered owner of the vehicle gets the ticket, not the actual driver. So for those reasons, demerit points can't be issued. And just the speeding infraction that can affect insurance premiums based on.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that because I know there's two things out there and I didn't know if that question was going to come our way. Would it make sense to have a traffic light near the McLean Center permanently? Would it make sense? Maybe, but the spacing of the intersections and the need for lights and stopping additional traffic, especially when there's a stop sign already at Coles on McGill, that light wouldn't be a light that we would continuously stop traffic at. That would be just really a light that would control traffic coming out of the plaza or the community center. It wouldn't be a traffic control device on there, nor would there be a warrant, meet the warrant for a traffic light within that area. So it might make sense to have a light there, but it wouldn't meet any of the criteria by which a light would be able to be installed there because of its proximity already to a light at Westy and McGill. So that probably wouldn't happen. That's fair. I'm not a traffic engineer, but there are criteria, separation and spacing requirements between intersections. Correct, Rizwan?
Sorry, I was just reading one of the.
Yeah, so was I.
questions.
I was scrolling through as well.
Yeah, I was just going to one of the questions. Yeah, one of the questions was if someone borrows their friend's car, he's caught over the limit, will he get the ticket?
No,
No. Again, as we were mentioning, it only goes to the registered vehicle owner
yeah,
of the car.
yeah. So if Rizwan borrows my car, and he's speeding, I get the ticket.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? Are there any plans to open the other exit in McLean onto Coles? This would ease congestion. That access in from the McLean's parking lot on the east side of the building, that's an emergency access route. So that's in order to provide any emergency or fire, police, ambulance service or connectivity from Coles into the park space, just in case there's need to access that area. That stretch of pavement is not designed as a full municipal road, nor would it meet any of the design criteria. And there is no plans to open that up. And that question was from Sharon again. We answered the question about the borrowing the car. And then I said another one here. I don't know if this was already answered, but why isn't this near schools? There are serious speeders near schools, which is a potential for serious accidents. I think, Rizwan, I think we have a number of these in and around school areas, correct?
Yeah,
Not all of them, not all school areas.
But a lot
But
of
a lot of
locations, they're in the vicinity of schools. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see any more questions coming through. Rizwan, was there anything else that we wanted to share with the group?
That was mainly it. As we get more information, new information about the program, we're going to be providing the updates on our website. We're also working with the communications team to provide any communications to the social media feed, as I was mentioning earlier. And we'll try our best to keep the public informed on this program if there's any changes or adjustments with this program. And we can always be contacted on our website, on our email, ASE program@ajax.ca, anytime if there's any questions that come up. residents.
And Rizwan is our transportation technologist that's responsible for the ASE program. So he's in the program every day, working with, will be working with, whether it's with the region for the prosecutions piece, the joint processing center that does all the ticketing and data entry and paper sending and couriering all the information around, and also working with the camera provider, Redflex, to ensure, if the camera's damaged or graffitied or something happens to it, ensuring that we're out there and, rectifying that situation with the provider to ensure that the camera system is up and running and not obstructed, etc. The signs, again, just to emphasize, I know Rizwan said this a bunch of times, but when you see the coming soon signs out there, that means that sometime within the next 90 days, or sometimes, after a 90-day period,
90 days.
sorry, there we go. After a 90-day period from seeing that coming soon, the camera will be deployed in that community safety zone.
That's
And
correct.
then there's another nuance sign too, right?
Yep, so that gets swapped out.
Coming soon.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, and then it gets swapped out for the in-use sign.
In use, that's it.
And that's what's actively enforcing and taking tickets for us.
So when you see the in-use sign, that means the camera is activated in that corridor. Do we get a few more here?
Good.
Will you guys be adding this to more schools? This is from Grace. So in order to deploy the ASE program anywhere within the town, we have to establish community safety zones. That's the first kind of first task. Rizwan, can you explain community safety zones and typically what are within community safety zones in order for us to give them that type of classification?
Sure. So community safety zone, it's mainly designated as zones where it's a high pedestrian traffic area. So it's places around community centers, schools, it could be churches or retirement residences are located. And also the traffic patterns of areas around those type of areas. Determining factors are the amount of lanes in front of those areas, the speed in front of those areas, how much in traffic control devices in those areas, whether it's stop sign, yield signs. So these are a lot of determining factors, mainly the vehicle volume, how much vehicles have been shown there based on the data analysis have been speeding there. So a lot of these determination factors are looked at when designating a specific area, community safety zone.
Great, thank you. Sharon had another question here. What's the duration for a camera at a location? I think you kind of mentioned that with our schedule. What's the rotating schedule that we're deploying on this first go around?
Yep. So it's going to be for our each location set. So which is 3 locations per set will be 8 weeks. So it'll be about 2 months for each set, and there's 5 sets in our first year, and
Great.
then we'll rotate to.
Thanks, Rizwan. Another question from Grace. Can parents advocate to have ASE set up, and if so, how? I don't know if people can advocate for it. Definitely, Rizwan would be the gentleman that you would contact to speak to him about the ASE program. As he's mentioned, there's certain criteria by which certain criteria that has to be in place within that corridor, principally being a community set up as a community safety zone first and foremost, in order to have the ASE program within that corridor. So if Grace, you're talking about ASE, I think the first question that we would have to deal with, or first evaluation that we would have to make, is whether or not the street or area that you're looking at meets the criteria in order to establish a community safety zone. And then once we could establish that, if that was possible and warranted, then that has the potential of moving to the ASE program if it satisfied that criteria. Rizwan, is there anything to add to anything that I said there?
No, that's correct. You covered it all. Yeah, that's exactly what we will be doing if we are contacted for expanding our ASE program. Your first step would be just seeing or designating it, or seeing if we can designate that area as a community safety zone. That'll be our step one. And then from there, I'm fitting it in our schedule. I'm getting our enforcement cameras deployed at that area.
Great. Councillor Khan, I see you popped in. Did you have a question for us? No, you're good. I don't see any other questions coming up. I noticed we've lost a couple people along the way, which isn't a bad thing. We're going to hang out here till 8 o'clock or a little bit after. But if there's no other questions, Rizwan, maybe you want to throw up just our contact information. Maybe people can take a screenshot or a picture just so they can get our coordinates. And if there's any questions that they have,
Sure.
maybe after, like I usually have after I log off or close my computer for the night, a question pops into my head. I'm like, darn, that's what I wanted to ask. We definitely can take care of that stuff too. I don't think we missed anything here.
So I just sent it out in the chat.
Awesome. There, yeah, Rizwan just sent it out in the chat. So ASE program at ajax.ca. Rizwan, does that go right to your inbox?
So pretty much that's the inbox that I'm running. Yeah,
Okay, you multiple inboxes. So Rizwan will be the gentleman that'll respond to information that gets dropped in that inbox. You also can email either myself, Rizwan, or Stephen Ruddy, who's the manager of Development, Engineering, Transportation. And if you forget all of this, just call the town and ask to talk to the Planning and Development Services Department, and we can definitely point you in the right direction if you have any questions. Thanks, Pab. Yeah, for sure. You'll just be wondering why your self-driving car isn't driving fast enough, maybe. I don't know. That'd be an interesting question. Does the self-driving car? No, you still own it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't own itself. Just silly now.
I really enjoyed the new the speed signs though. What do we call them? What's the right name for them? There's one.
The speed boards?
The speed
Digital speed boards.
They're
Yeah.
so nice, so unique.
Sharon had one more question here. Will it be made public the number of tickets given out at a location after the first 8 weeks?
So those
I
are
don't know
metrics.
we'll be collecting them, right? I don't think we'll be reporting them out like after each week. It might be more like a yearly or biannual reporting or something like that, right?
Correct. It won't be as frequent as 8 weeks, but as soon as we have an opportunity to report those numbers, we definitely will be sharing those numbers with the public.
Yeah. And we'll present them to council through a report. That report will always make its way into the annals of time on the town website, and it'll be accessible there. Also, talk to your local regional counselors. If the information's already been provided, they can share that information with you as well.
Jeff, Rizwan, was part of this slide to explain to our residents that this is not by any chance a way for us to make money. It's just for safety and traffic calming. Was part of your slide addressing that? I think that's right. But
well, yeah, I mean, a lot of the questions, Norm kind of kicked it off in saying, I hope this isn't going to be a program that, nicking people for 2 or 3 kilometers over a speed limit. This is not a money-making program. This is a community safety program. This is to slow people down, make people more aware of their surroundings, where they're driving, how fast they're driving. And that's why they're set up in the areas that they are. That's why they're community safety zones. I guess another piece of information that we should share is that the fines are doubled, aren't they? In these zones, if you have the community safety zone and the ASE. So if it's a $35 ticket, traditionally,
yes,
because it's in a community safety zone and it's automated speed enforcement, it's a $70 ticket.
community safety zones are mostly school or only school areas. I think it's only school areas, isn't it?
No, not necessarily. It can be schools, community centers, churches. There's a number of factors and criteria that go into a community safety zone. It could be just another high pedestrian area, right? It could be adjacent to schools or community centers, other types of high traffic, foot traffic, or other type of traffic facilities. Obviously, Rizwan outlined the criteria by which we would analyze it, and there's a number of factors that go into that.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that this is costing us a lot of money, and traffic calming has been my biggest challenge since I've been a counselor. And we all know we've been working together on keeping our residents safe, right? But great job, guys. Thank you so much.
No problem.
And this is recorded, right? It's going to be available for residents to look back at if they need to.
Yep,
it's recording right now.
Yep.
It'll be on the cloud.
It's going to be on the website. Wonderful, wonderful. Yep. Okay.
So I got other stuff to do. I'm sure everybody else does. If there's no other
7:59, you got a few more seconds.
No, I'm just gonna wrap it up for the folks that are listening. All 6 of them, plus the 6 that are on the screen here. You're welcome, Elizabeth. No problem. Thanks for coming out tonight. We had 60 people registered. I'm happy 8 people showed up. So that's good. And some really good questions. A lot of the questions that came up tonight, Rizwan, myself, and Stephen kind of already thought that that's where most of the questions were going to go. So that just goes to show that at least we're, I guess, in the loop, or at least aware and cautious of the types of questions that residents are going to ask. I just want to thank everybody for joining us this evening, and have a good night.
Thank you,
Thank you so
gentlemen.
much.
Good night,
Thanks,
residents.
guys.
Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, take care. Bye.